Hello, I'm doing the valves. I've just come to look at the cam and I've done nothing more on this side other than just wipe it with a somewhat dirty cloth, but it doesn't look too bad. I haven't looked at it in detail and I was going to just clean this a bit better now, maybe with a brass wire wheel, and this end I didn't touch. So this is basically how it looked, and that's how it looks there. And I'm going to clean all these up as well, polish these with some fine abrasive paper or something, or a wire brush or something. I don't know what I'm going to do yet, but I think this cam hopefully is usable. I just did this on that wire brush in the on the grinder, the bench grinder. You know, this is the bit that does the business, isn't it? This side of the... So just that one there that's not great. I thought I'd just clean these bearings a little bit and try and offer the cam in. I think it is slightly easier having it closer to vertical. You don't tend to clash the ow. I got my fingers stuck. You don't tend to clash the cams into the bearings quite so hard as with it down flat. There we go, lovely. The other thing that I did that I haven't shown is these lifters. All of the ones that were on the exhausts, which were this type, have cleaned up not too bad. All of the other ones, which were like this, the base has not cleaned up at all. Well, I have all of these been done with a wire brush, not very good. Whereas these ones, not too bad. Kinda, as I say, less than perfect, but usable, hopefully usable. I have some more that I can use to make up a set. Hello, I'm doing the valves, adjusting the valve lash. I've only done this once or twice before, and that would have been many years ago. And to be honest, it's a right palaver, it's a right pain. But I'll show you something that I've found quite useful, just in case it might be helpful to anybody. You'll have to forgive me, I've got a little bit of a cold, if I sound a bit snuffly. With this engine, the valve seats have gone in quite a long way because I've recut them. And I've cleaned the valves up and I've ground all the valves in. So I've got this situation where the valve is off the seat. So I've rigged up I've rigged up something so I can tell how far it is off the seat, so I know how much to cut off the stem of the valve, and it's quite a lot actually. It's quite staggering how much I've had to take off. And I'm using the method that I was showing you, and at the moment I'm doing valve number 7, both valves number 7. So I'm going to do this exhaust valve now, So I'll show you what I've been using to work out how far it is off the seat. Okay, so here's valve number 7. So what I've been doing is, it's like that and it's off the seat. So what I have here is like a slave valve that I can put like that, and what I'm going to do is turn this around so it's over that valve. Okay, so I've got that set there like that. And I'm going to set this to 0. Okay, that's 0. And I'm going to make a note also of the sort of tenths indicator, the small scale there. That's virtually on the 0. Because it's easy to kind of miss a thing. Okay, so that's on the 0. Just make sure it's repeatable. Yep. And that's on the 0, and that's close to the 0. Take this out of the way. The reason I'm using that is because this can remain here while I mess about with the valve. If you measured directly on the valve, you wouldn't be able to do that. And there's angles to take into consideration as well. So take the valve out, reach underneath, pop the lifter up with my finger, take the lifter out, put that there, put the valve back in, now that's down on the seat now. So get me slave valve, lift the plunger, let it go. Okay, so I'm going to have to just kind of work out where this is now. Right then, so it was about there, so it's now 25, 30, 35, 38 thou down. Right, let's just get this right. It was there, 0, 0, 25, 30, 35, 40, 38 thou down. Right. If you were doing this yourself, you probably wouldn't have them anywhere near that as far as that, because I've had to cut these seats quite deep. So now I'm going to go and trim, and this is a exhaust valve, so it's 14 to 16 thou. So 38. Let me measure. Let me just check that again. Getting 37 there. So 37. So I'm going to put that back in now, because we won't need to have it taken out again. So I'm going to take 37 plus 14 off the face of that valve there. So that's 37, 41, 51, isn't it? 51 thou. 51 thou. It's quite a lot, you see. And I'm going to go and do it on the lathe. There's my valve. There's my keeper. So I put the keeper on the valve. Then you kind of loop the valve in there like that. And I always have the label on the chuck up. I'll just get it loosely in there. press it home. Just don't have it tight. I'll just give it a tap with a hammer as I nip it up like that. Then I'll check that that retainer is tight. So get ready for a loud noise. Here's the... So I'm going to wind the tool away. Hope you can see the tool. Get it lined up like that. I'm going to start the lathe, it's going to be noisy. Then I'm going to touch the tool off. There. I'll take 10 thou. I'll take another 10. I've got a little thing in the middle there, look. I'll take another 10. And another 10. That's 40. That's 950 RPM. That's top speed for this lathe. Right, that's 40 thou. I actually only want 51 thou, don't I? Should I risk it in one go? Yeah, let's just do it. That's it. Can't do any more than that. Right. Thing is, you can't take a thou off. Nice finish though, look at that. Can you see it? Got a little burr on the edge. Okay, now I am aware that there's going to be a little raised bit in the middle of that. I've got this thing set up on my drilling machine. Now I do use both hands for this, so I'm going to have to just kind of give you an idea. But basically there's two big lathe tools that have been ground as parallels and a V-block that I made when I was an apprentice. So I'm just holding it like that and dragging it forward, but I have my finger on the top as well. So I hold it like that, drag it over the abrasive paper. It's emery cloth actually, but I'll do a better job with two hands, so I'll put you back over there. You'll probably see me in the background doing it. This paper's getting a bit worn out actually. But if you don't get rid of that, I always finish it like this. Doing it in the lathe's okay, but I always end up having to do a bit like this, because what I tend to do is go a bit tight and then end up finishing them by using this. So let's see how that ends up. Because there's a rough edge there, I'm not going to shove that through there. If you shove that in there with the O-ring on it, it kind of scrapes up the middle. But it's still useful to have the O-ring to hold it all together. So, what do you reckon the chances are of having this right? I'll let you into a secret. It hasn't been right on every one I've done so far, but it's the best method I've got. This is exhaust. 14 to 16 is the size. Okay, the 15 don't go. It does, but I'm having to force it. So let's try a 12. Goes straight through, so we're in the ballpark. So let's try 13. It'll probably come out at 13 because that's what's been tending to happen. 13 goes, but with a small amount of resistance. In other words, 13 fits like I'd like 14 to fit. So, where's 4? Old these are. I can do 12 and 2, can't I? That's a bit too tight. So, I won't bore you with this, but basically I'll now use that lapping due. I might get a fresh piece of paper on it. That's a handy thing. Look, you can put the guide down the thingy bob bore, down the exhaust transfer bore. I'll go and lap this a bit more using this jig. When I'm showing you how to do something, always bear in mind I'm not an expert. A lot of other people have done this 1,000 times more than me. I'm kind of self-teaching myself. So I'm just showing you how I have done it. And it's a method that works. Might not be the best way. That's just slightly, still just slightly tighter than I would like. Some of these guys are a bit slack. Ah, that feels nice now. So those two are done now. Okay. Maybe I could just show you the thing going through. Okay. Right. I'm going to use my chest to lean on this spanner to hold the valve shut. And there's the feelers just going through nicely without forcing them. I mean, that thin one is only 2 thou, so it wouldn't go through there if it wasn't happy. Okay, should we call that good then? Okay, I'm going to work on the last cylinder now using my method. Look, there's number 7, I've done that, so I'm just going to do number 2 now. And get that done, and then that's another little round of work out the way. Thanks for popping in then. Hope you found that interesting. I'll see you on the next one. Bye. Yeah. Whoa, look at that. Hello, welcome to Mart's Messy Garage. I've been working on my Flathead and I've been looking at doing an initial valve setting. Well, I hope it's not initial, I hope it'll be the final one. But basically, I've prepared all the valves, I've cut all the seats, I've lapped all the valves in, and I have done these two. But from first principles, I thought, well, I'll use the fact that I've got a cam gear and the front face open and no crank to come up with a way that is relatively easy and should be accurate enough. And I will explain to you how I arrived at this and why I think it's worth showing, because I think it is pretty easy. Right, we all know the firing order, don't we, on a Flathead? It's 1, 5, 4, 8, 6, 3, 7, 2. So number 1's companion cylinder is number 6. In other words, the one that is also at top dead centre at the same time as number 1 is number 6. Number 2 is number 8, number 4 is number 7, number 5 is number 3, and so on. The opposites are companion cylinders, what I call companion cylinders. So when number 1 is at top dead centre on the firing stroke, both the valves are closed, aren't they? So what I did, I just put my fingers on number 6, and can you see the valves here? So I turn this cam, bear in mind it goes anti-clockwise. There, that exhaust is opening, and then the exhaust is closing, and it's just rocking there. The inlet's opening. So at that point down there, round about down there, these are rocking, that one's firing. So what I did, I put a mark on the existing marker on the cam wheel, and because there's no metal here to write on, I've just put a spray can lid in the thing and put a number 1 on there next to that. What I did then, didn't I felt for number 6, and now I'll feel for number 3. So where's number 3? Over here. The exhaust valve is already open, so then I'll turn this till the exhaust valve closes there. So that is so we know the firing order, it's 1, 5, so number 5 goes there, and so on. So I'll feel for 7, and when I feel them rocking, I'll put a marker for number 4, and so on. Hopefully, I mean, once you establish that you've put a mark there for number 1, like that, you could just go up here by the bolt hole is number 6, there below that bolt hole is number 7, there below that bolt is number 4, and then 8 is halfway between, 3 is halfway between, 2 is halfway between, 5 is halfway between. In other words, they're 45 degrees. They're all 45 degrees, aren't they? So, now, if you want to be directly opposite the lobe, there is a relatively simple way. If you say, well, I don't mind, as long as I'm nowhere near the lobe, and I'm kind of roughly opposite, this method works well. And it's what I've just used to set those first 2 valves. So, basically, when that's like that, against number 1, I can set these valves in number 1 cylinder. And then you'd turn it to number 5 and set number 5 there. Then you'd set both valves on number 4 and both valves on number 8 here. And then set both valves on number 6 here. Then both valves on number 3, both valves on number 7, both valves on number 2, and then you're finished, back to 1. That's the simplest way, if you're happy to take an approximation. If you want to say, well, okay, but I want to know that I'm directly opposite the lobe, well, you can use like a modified version of this, because if you watch here again at number 6, right, number 6 exhaust, so these two are rocking, aren't they? Number 6 exhaust is open one station before number 1. And number 6 inlet is open one station after number 1. There, that one's open now. I don't know if you can see them. Let's get these out of the way. And this one's open there. That one's open there. So if you wanted to be more exact, so if you want to start with number 1, you'd start one station early than number 1. This probably won't make sense, but to anybody who does understand, it would make sense to them. So at that point, because the exhaust, when it's rocking, it's exhaust valve, then inlet, exhaust, then inlet. So the exhaust leads the point at which it's rocking, and then the inlet follows the point at which it's rocking. In other words, the exhaust is open leading up to top dead centre because it's blowing it out, isn't it? And then it goes past top dead centre, and then it opens the inlet and sucks it in. So what you could do is say, well, I'm doing number 1. I'll do number 2. Sorry, I'll be one station in front of number 1, and I'll do the exhaust for number 1. Right. So in other words, you do the exhaust for number 1, one station early, so then you do the exhaust for number 5 there, and you do the exhaust for number 4 there, and you do the exhaust for number 8 there, and you do the exhaust for number 6 there, and so on. The inlet is the opposite way, so with it set here, you would do the exhaust for number 1 and the inlet for number 7. With it set there, you do the exhaust for number 5 and the inlet for number 2. With it set there, you do the exhaust for number 4 and the inlet for number 1. With it set there, you do the exhaust for number 8 and the inlet for number 5. With it set there, you do the exhaust for this one, for number 6, and the inlet for number 4. And there, you do the exhaust for number 3 and the inlet for number 8. See what I mean? Quite simple, but it's not as easy as say, right, I'll put it there and I'll do the exhaust and the inlet for number 1, and that's what I've just used to do this one here. So that's my easy method, and you can finish the engine in one turn of the cam. So I hope that might be interesting, and I hope somebody, you know, might put that to use, give it a test and just feedback and tell, you know, say, Mart, it worked, it was alright, or Mart, it was not really that good, I prefer this method, blah blah blah. I don't mind, but that's how I'm going to do it. So I've done number 1, and now I'm going to do number 5 there. It's easy, isn't it? Just a quickie then from me. Cheers then, I'll catch you on the next one. Bye.